Hey, good day. Welcome back. Today I'm working on some odds and ends and trying to get things put back together. Starting with the fuel tank. So I did things a little bit backwards. I painted the fuel tank before I actually cleaned the inside of the fuel tank. In my opinion, not a big issue. So I've got the liner kit. First time I've ever used it. Starting with the cleaner. So I dumped that in, I've sloshed it around. It's got to sit for 15 to 20 minutes, and then I'll drain that out, and then I'll rinse this really well with water. To get all of that degreaser out, and hopefully any other garbage that comes with it. And then it's got to dry, and then after it dries I can put in the tank prep. So you dump that in, you slush it around really good, and then you empty it, and then you let it sit and dry as is without rinsing it out, and it takes about 30 minutes according to the instructions. And then the final step is putting the liner in and slushing it around really well, and then letting it set up and dry. And that will probably take the rest of the evening to dry. And then hopefully tomorrow we can get this put on and plumbed. So while I wait for that to dry, let's go look at progress inside the shed. All right, so as you can see, I've got a lot of the components back on. Coil pack, plug wires, that's all on. Alternator, I did make a modification to the mounting bracket, or the mounting point on the alternator, so that it would line up better. If you remember from a couple videos ago, the alternator was sitting back and the belt was at a bad angle and I didn't like it, so we got that addressed. Now the belt's nice and straight. I can kind of show you what I did. So I took a cut-off wheel and I made a slot in the mounting bracket so that the bracket would fit up in between there, and that was enough to get it scooted forward. So that's done. The radiator got a new coat of paint, so I covered over the primer with black. I did black because that's what I did on the 445, and again I want them to be as similar as I possibly can. So I don't know if the shroud was actually supposed to be prairie gold or black, but I'm going with black. As we work our way around, you can see that I have the exhaust permanently plumbed and painted, and I've got the strapping on, so it's mounted and the exhaust is 100% complete. I've got the intake and carburetor back on. I've got the main power wire running up from the battery. So as we make our way back to look at that, I've got the battery housed with a battery cover, which is going to be awesome. Hopefully it keeps the corrosion off the posts. I plan to do this on my 445 as well, because I'm sick of having bad connections with it year after year after year. So then because I like to use cutoffs to make sure that the power is dead when it's sitting at shows or sitting in the shed, I put my cutoff down underneath the box like so. I think that's going to work out really well. So all in all, I'm really happy with how that turned out. I've got the third arm of the 3-point pinned up. Now there's supposed to be a clip that would go on with this pin, where this would just kind of slide into the clip. I don't have that on either one of my tractors, and I've looked over the years and I've never found one. So maybe someday if I find one I'll put it on there, but for now that's going to be how it's going to sit. I got the return line for the hydraulic fluid hooked up now. I got the belt pulley put back on. I've got both rear fenders on. Really happy with how that turned out. I've got the seat cover on. I wasn't extremely excited when I put the tail light on, because you need a second hole in the fender for this wire that I wasn't anticipating. I thought that maybe the power wire was going to go through the hole here with the bolt, and that is not the case, which means I have to drill another hole, and I just got done filling all these holes, so that does not excite me at all. I've got all the grips for all the shift levers on, and that looks really nice. Now the paint still hasn't fully cured, so it's really delicate, and every time you put a wrench or something on it right now, you get a scuff. I mean, you barely touch it and you get a scuff. So I'm gonna get a brush and touch all that stuff up, but it's gonna be a good month before this paint is really fully cured. Steering wheel's back on. So once I get that fuel tank on and I get the bulb back on, I get it all plumbed, then I should be to the point where I can put the wheels back on and get it back to a rolling chassis, and then it's just the electrical system, which we're going to touch on in a minute. I wanted to end the video today with some electrical, seeing as that's pretty much the next step. So this is the cluster that I had on my 445 because I didn't have the right dash, because I'm almost certain that a previous owner had a tree fall on it, because when we stripped the paint off that hood, there was Bondo big time where that cowling was, and it had a replaced seat, and so this is actually a little bit shorter than what a regular dash mount would be, because that cowling actually dropped a little bit because of the damage. So that's why it had this cluster in it. Somebody made this so that they could put it back together, and I think they flipped it. I think they bought it and then redid everything and then sold it. But anyway, seeing as I couldn't find an original, and we've talked about that on the channel before, they don't make remanufactured dash panels for these, at least that I can find right now. Maybe somebody will pick it up and do it again, but Steiner was doing it, and they stopped doing it, and I haven't been able to find one for about 18 months that I've been looking. So the options are to go back to this style for the 335. However, I wanted to potentially rebuild this so that I could add a tachometer, and mainly because I'd love to have the hour meter, just to know how many hours I've put on it since the restoration. So that would mean taking one of these and rebuilding it so that these sit on top of one another and that sits in the middle, that kind of thing. It's a lot of work. It's gonna look goofy. Just not super happy with it. So here's the good news. I did find the closest thing I could find to it on eBay about a month ago. So it doesn't have the speedometer and it doesn't have the fuel gauge, but I don't care. This is so much better and so much closer than what that is, that I'm really happy, really happy that I found this thing. So I bought it immediately, and I got all of the other parts, the choke cable, the lighter, and the headlights. So yeah, this is what is going to be going on the 335. It has the tachometer, it has the hour meter, it has amperage, it has engine temp, and it has oil pressure. So everything that I was going to put on there, just in the look that it needs to be in. And I'm not 100% sure when this was manufactured. When I was looking for one, I had pulled an old one apart, and I saw the name on the back of the gauges, and I called the company that used to make these gauges, because they're still around and they still make gauges, just to see if maybe they had something on the shelf that I could use to put one back together. They were actually out of Sauk Rapids, Minnesota, and they did not. They kind of laughed at me when I started talking about it, which was sad, but you know, good for them for being in business that long. Anyway, so this is going to be the guy. So then we move on to the next portion, which is headlights. Okay, so I had another video that I'll put up right here that I kind of broke down some information about the headlights. I have the shells painted, and I actually have this one all put together. And I did have a comment in that video that somebody wanted me to do a full video just on headlights. Not gonna fully do a video on headlights, but I will talk about some of the differences that you might find, and then we will build this one on camera just so you can see what all it entails. It's fairly simple and straightforward. It doesn't take much other than knowing whether you're going to run a 6-volt system or a 12-volt system. So I've got my DC power unit here, and I've got it all set up for 12-volt because that's what I'm going to run. So I've already done some pre-wiring. I've got it wired to the switch, so right now everything is dead. Turn on my switch. Now I should have live power. And I don't know if you can see it right now, but the backlight's lit up inside the panel. There, you can see that one pretty good. And our headlight turned on. So that's what I'm looking for. I just did some rough wiring to put this together. This isn't, I've got to go get some heat shrink ends. I didn't realize I was out of them. So right now I've got the key switch wired to the lights. Also the lighter, if you want to light up a smoke, which I do not, but it's a neat little thing to have. You definitely don't see those anymore. So we're going to put this other headlight together. Okay, there's really not much to it. This headlight consists of the glass front plate, the bulb, and the backer. This is a 12-volt bulb. It's got your positive power line, and then it just grounds to the fixture itself, so there's no ground wire. And so we're going to start by taking the isolator and putting it in the back of the housing. It's got a flat side, so there's only one way that it can go. So that goes in, and then there's a retaining clip that goes in to hold it. Okay, so like that. I don't know if you can see in there, but the retaining clip is in. Now we're going to take the shorter of the two screws and the little lock washer. We're going to get it started in the isolator. Okay, and then we're going to put the positive end underneath the screw and washer, and we're going to snug it down really tight. Okay. Now, like I said, this back shroud for the bulb is going to be our ground. Shroud goes on. Now there should be a rubber gasket. I don't have it yet, so when that comes I'll get it put in. There'd be a rubber gasket that goes around, and then your lens, and then I gotta open this up. Backer, lens, gasket, clamp. There's the clamp. This one's going to go this way. Now the next step is to put the wire on. That's what the other little bolt is for on that isolator. That's going to go right there. And again, I don't have the proper fittings, so for tonight we're going to do it a little janky. So that's my positive. This is my ground. Okay, there we go. And as you can see, the voltage meter is drawing. Turn them off, zeroes out, turn them on, and it pulls about 5 amps. So that's good. Now, I could have also used this style bulb and light package, so that's the backer, everything's sealed together, and that's got a negative. Actually, this has got a high and a low beam. And we talked before about this is what was on the 335, which was not the correct light. I'm not sure what this was off of, but it was not a Moline. It's the right bracket, but the wrong light. And then these which are from a 445. This long bar on a 445 would go in through the side bracket, whereas these bolt to the side bracket. And then this one's got these extra brackets on because they made an adaptation for if you had a loader, you could take the lights out, you can use the same bracket that goes on the outside, and then you can stand them up like this so they stick up above the bucket and the hood. But otherwise, same deal, back or inside, same housing. The only difference is the power line runs through that pipe back into the tractor, not exposed on the outside. So otherwise, exactly the same. All right, there we have it. Okay, that's where we're going to leave her for the day. Been a long day. I'm ready to go home and sleep and start all over again tomorrow. For those of you that have been following and have subscribed, thank you. And if you haven't, please consider it. As always, everybody, take your foot off the clutch. Thanks.